Part 32. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 311. Su Ming quickly grabbed Nangong and hid aside, but he was extremely excited. Su Ming's heart beat wildly every time those guys wearing masks, carrying big bags, and looking fiercely took a step closer to the gold shop. At this moment, he is not the director of the zoo. He is possessed by Zhang Ziqiang, Lai Hao, and Brother Henan. He can even guess what will happen next. Soon, a car will rush from the corner and crash into the gold shop. Then these people take out axe from their bags and rush into the gold shop, shouting robbery. Men stand on the left, women stand on the right, the she-male stands in the middle. The waitresses were so frightened that they were trembling, and maybe some of them were calmer, so they secretly pressed the alarm button hidden under the counter. The two uniformed police officers who were patrolling the street corner held down the revolver on their waist with one hand and their hat with the other hand. They bent over and rushed over at a trot. When the gangster with an AK saw the police coming, he fired a hail of bullets without hesitation. The firepower was so overwhelming that the two plainclothes were unable to lift their heads. "This is Police Officer PC 2300987, calling the main station. There is a robbery on Hennessy Road, please support, please support." Tow stormtroopers and flying tigers swarmed in from all directions, and then a fierce gun battle. If this is really the case, Su Ming feels that this trip to Xiangyang is really worth it. Unfortunately, things often don't turn out the way people hope. Several masked robbers with fierce eyes stopped behind the iron fence at the gate of the gold shop. They took out several large banners from the big bag behind them and held them up. Overhead, through the iron fence, he shouted at the mainland tourists in the gold shop, "Parallel importers, go back." The uniformed patrol police showed up as scheduled, and two plainclothes men wearing glasses walked over from the street corner, but there was no trotting, no guns drawn, and no call for support from the flying tigers. The two patrolmen crossed their arms and stood helplessly between the gold shop and the masked robbers to prevent the rebels from taking drastic actions. The mainland tourists in the store looked outside for a moment and saw the police there, so they continued shopping. Many locals in Xiangyang who passed by seemed to be accustomed to this phenomenon. Seeing these young people demonstrating, they most shook their heads and walked around them. What the hell, the robber turned into a traitor. Su Ming was so disappointed. Where is the big guy he promised? What about the promised gold shop robbery? The more you mix, the more you go back. Nangong also took these rebels too seriously, and the two of them visited several stores along Hennessy Avenue and bought some souvenirs. After coming out of Sogo department store, it was almost 4:30 in the afternoon. Nangong Yan touched her belly and said, "I'm a little hungry after shopping for so long." "I'm tired and hungry," Su Ming said while carrying large and small bags. He looked around and suddenly pointed to the entrance of a small alley at the corner of the street. "Come on, I'll treat you to some noodles." An open-air stall was set up at the entrance of the alley, but no police came to drive it away. There was no signboard on the stall, but the simple dining tables around it were almost full of people, and it looked like the food should be good. Nangong Zy held back, "Hey, when we come to Xiangyang, we just eat ramen. This is no ordinary ramen. Have you seen it, god of cookery? This is the awful noodles that Zhou Xing eats for 20 to 35 yuan. Strictly speaking, the noodles sold at the noodle stall are rickshaw noodles. The awful noodles that Stephen Chow eats in the movie God of Cookery are an improved version of rickshaw noodles." As Su Ming said this, he led Nangong Yan across the street and shouted to the fat boss who was fishing for noodles, 2 bowls of noodles, more pork rinds, more beef brisket, and 2 more curry fish eggs. Take your pick. Do you want to add more noodles and more soup? Beef brisket and pork rinds are free. Why don't you have 3 bowls? Go and sit aside and wait." The fat boss in a sweatshirt didn't even raise his head and spoke quickly. He complained a few words very quickly, and then quickly scooped out the noodles and mixed them with condiments. After sitting at an empty table for a few minutes, the fat boss brought a big tray over and put 2 bowls on the table, so that the soup spilled out. Then he put 2 plates of round curry fish balls on the table. On the table, turn around and leave. Although the service attitude is very bad, the 2 bowls of noodles on the table are full. The beef brisket and pork skin on them are obviously much more than the normal portion. The 2 plates of curry fish balls are also full of ingredients, round and shiny, and they are poured a lot. The thick layer of broth makes people's fingers lick their fingers. Eat it, eat it. Curry fish balls are the mainstay of Xinjiang snacks. It is said that Xinjiang eats 10 million fish balls every day. I checked online and found that their fish balls and noodles are the most authentic and time-honored. Su Ming took a fish ball and bit it down. It was so elastic that it felt so good that it flew up. Nangong turned his head and muttered at the background of the fat boss, and said dissatisfiedly, "Huh, what kind of attitude? I will complain to him. A total of more than 60 yuan is enough to feed the 2 of us. Do we have to pay for it? Eat it, it tastes great." Su Ming didn't care at all and took a fried piece from his bowl. Put the crispy pork skin into Nangong's bowl. This is the characteristic of Xinjiang food stalls. The owners of these stalls are ordinary people with low cultural quality and weird tempers. Some bosses are as friendly as your family, and some bosses pick their noses while sarcastic at you like enemies. But no matter what, they are definitely genuine. Unless it is too much, they try their best to meet the customer's requirements and ensure that the customer is satisfied. Eat well and eat well. Hey, pig skin is so disgusting. Nangong picked up the pig skin with chopsticks, carefully put it in his mouth and took a small bite. How is it? Su Ming asked with a blink of his eyes. Yeah, Nangong's eyes lit up, and he nodded vigorously, swallowing the remaining half of the pig skin in one bite, and said incoherently, "Oh, so hot, wow, it's really delicious. This is the first time I've eaten such chewy pig skin." In fact, cart noodles are just a cheap noodle dish in Hong Kong. In the past, it was the most common roadside stall for the lower and middle class residents in Hong Kong. Its status is similar to that of beef noodles in the mainland. Diners can choose side dishes and soup by themselves. Side dishes include beef brisket, pig blood, pig skin, radish, and beef brisket sauce, sauté sauce or curry sauce. You can eat a full stomach for more than 20 yuan. There are both meat and vegetables, delicious and cheap. But the same cart noodles can taste different in different hands. In The God of Cookery, Karen Mok made cart noodles. The alkaline noodles were not rinsed with cold water. The fish balls had neither fish nor curry flavor. The radish was not picked out of too many tendons. The pig skin was overcooked and had no bite. The worst thing was that there was a pile of shit in the large intestine. It was a complete failure. The cart noodles that Su Ming and his friends ate now were exactly the opposite. Before Su Ming came to Hong Kong, he specially looked up a lot of travel guides on the internet and did a series of homework. This small stall in the corner of Hennessy Road, the mysterious fat boss has been focusing on cart noodles for 25 years. He opens the stall every day regardless of rain or shine. He only makes cart noodles and curry fish balls. There are countless repeat customers. So much so that even the police on Hennessy Road were embarrassed to drive him away and tacitly allowed him to set up a stall here. Doing the simplest things to the extreme is art. Try the curry fish balls. Wow, it really tastes different from what we usually eat. While Su Ming was talking, he had already eaten all 7 fish balls on the plate in front of him, and turned around and yelled to the boss, "2 more fish balls. You eat so fast, your uncle can't handle it." "Wait a minute," the fat boss also yelled without raising his head, waving his hands up and down in the grids with boiling water, steam rising, like a hermit. Nangong's mouth was already full of a fish ball. She pouted her cheeks, wanting to bite but not daring to. She asked worriedly, Will it explode? It's not a peeing beef ball, why would it explode? After taking a bite, the delicious fish meat and the aroma of curry instantly spread in her mouth, fresh and smooth. Nangong's mouth could hardly stop eating. She opened her mouth and kept fanning it with her hands to cool the hot fish balls. With the other hand, she pulled Su Ming's sleeve and begged, "It's so delicious. What if I can't eat it in the future? Why don't you open a fish ball shop when you go back? This is a good idea. The fish from Shuahun Lake must taste great when made into fish balls. The problem is where to find a chef as good as the fat boss. The chefs with such good skills have strange tempers. Even if they offer high salaries, they may not be willing to come. Don't say bad things about Uncle behind his back. Uncle is old, but his ears are not deaf." The fat boss appeared behind him at some point, slammed 2 large plates of freshly made fish balls on the table, and then slammed 2 bottles of soy milk on the table. "Well, since you know what's good, Uncle will give you 2 free drinks." "Thank you, Uncle." Nangong looked up and smiled. Half an hour later, the 2 bowls of cart noodles and the soup were all drunk up, and the 4 plates of curry fish balls were swept away without a single one left. Nangong was like a koala, holding Su Ming's arm with one hand, half of his body hanging on him, puffing his cheeks and saying depressedly, "I'm so bloated from eating. I'm going to die. I'm going to gain so much weight now. I can't be on camera when I go back. Who told you to eat 3 plates of fish balls in one breath? It's too late to regret it now. But it's really delicious. You said the fish balls are exactly the same, why do they taste so different in Yangchuan and here? Of course, otherwise they would be called a time-honored brand. Anyway, I'm bloated, I need to digest the food. Where are we going to play tonight?" Nangong sat on a bench by the roadside, took off his high heels and rubbed his feet. "You are so tired, and you still want to play." Su Ming pointed at the nearby Ruxan Seaview Hotel and asked slyly, "How about we go to the hotel to settle down earlier?" "You wishful thinking, there are only 2 rooms in the hotel. Besides, it's only 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there's no point in settling down." Nangong put on his high heels again with great pride, jumped up, put his hands on his waist, pointed at the tall buildings in the distance, and said loudly, "I want to enjoy the nightlife in Hong Kong. Speaking of nightlife, there are 2 best places in Hong Kong. The first choice is Lan Kwai Fong Bar Street on Queens Road. There are all kinds of bars on an L-shaped road. Countless handsome men and beautiful women, stimulated by neon lights and alcohol, vent their vigorous energy and indulge in youth. But it is obvious that you can go there with Su Ming and Wang Hao, but you can't go there with Nangong. And Su Ming himself doesn't like drinking." "Where to go then?" Nangong asked. "Haven't you heard the saying, chasing stars in Seoul, betting on horses in Hong Kong? Since you're in Hong Kong, how can you not go to Happy Valley to bet on horses? Dividing line. Damn, I actually forgot what I was going to say, asking for votes, subscriptions, or something else. Oh, it seems like Mother's Day is here, everyone should go home, make phone calls. I wish all mothers in the world good health. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 312. In Hong Kong, horse racing has a history of more than 100 years. At first, it was just a pure competition between jockeys or horse owners, and the bet was limited to a bottle of champagne or a dinner. With the rapid development of Hong Kong's economy, horse racing has gradually turned into a professional sport and integrated into the lives of Hong Kong people. More than 1/3 of Hong Kong people are horse fans. Horse racing has become a fashionable way of leisure and socializing, and is one of the most representative Hong Kong cultures. Therefore, it has also brought huge economic benefits. The most profitable industry in Hong Kong is not the film and entertainment industry, not production and processing, and not even import and export trade, but legal gambling. Among them, Horse betting and Mark 6 are the most profitable. The total amount of bets on horse betting alone can reach nearly 100 billion Hong Kong dollars per year. The Hong Kong Jockey Club, which manages these two businesses, pays gambling taxes every year, which even exceeds 10% of Hong Kong's total tax revenue. No wonder our great chief designer proposed that the horses will continue to run and the dances will continue to dance for 50 years. It is indeed far-sighted. Happy Valley Racecourse, also known as Happy Valley Racecourse, is the first professional racecourse in Hong Kong. It is located in the prosperous area of Wan Chai and is surrounded by a circle of densely packed skyscrapers in the center. Due to the night horse racing tonight, the traffic near Happy Valley is very congested. The taxi that Su Ming and Nangong Yan took was less than 1 kilometer away from the gate of Happy Valley Racecourse when the road was completely blocked. The taxi driver squeezed forward along the traffic flow little by little, while muttering in Cantonese to complain about the traffic. The street was full of people, and the flow of people basically gathered at the gate of Happy Valley Racecourse. The taxi dawdled for more than 10 minutes, and before it drove 100 meters, Su Ming simply handed the driver a few Hong Kong dollars, then pulled Nangong out of the car and walked forward. Happy Valley was brightly lit at night, surrounded by high-end residential areas and high-end hotels. Almost half of the pedestrians on the street were foreigners. Walking all the way, many buildings felt very familiar. It is said that many TV dramas and movies are shot in Happy Valley. We might meet a star, Nangong Yan looked around with a smile. It is very likely. There are so many stars here. Many Hong Kong stars like to bet on horses. Jackie seems to be a member of the Jockey Club. The two walked along the crowd and finally came to the entrance of Happy Valley. There are a row of betting machines on both sides of the entrance. You can buy horses and bet on Mark 6. If you don't want to buy a ticket to enter, you can bet directly on the betting machine. You can clearly hear the live broadcast of the stadium outside the stadium. If you find a better position, you can even see the big screen of the live broadcast in the race course. But since you are here, of course you have to enter the venue to see it with your own eyes. The line for buying tickets has been lined up for several long lines. Su Ming pulled Nangong to line up to buy tickets. Nangong said wait a minute and ran to the betting machine to fiddle with it. Let's go in and see the mental state of those horses first, and then bet, Su Ming said curiously. No, I'm buying Mark 6 lottery. Nangong took out 2 lottery tickets from the ticket outlet, shook them at Su Ming with a smile, and said, if you win the jackpot, sister will support you. So there is no hope for me to be supported by you in this life, Su Ming laughed. When it comes to horse racing, he is still a little sure. As for Mark 6 lottery, even God can't guarantee who will win. That's not necessarily true. Let's go and buy tickets. There are 2 types of tickets for the race course. The admission fee for the public seats is HK $10. Mainland tourists like Su Ming can enter the public seats for free with a Hong Kong and Macau pass. There is also a kind of tourist admission badge called 100 Hong Kong dollars, which can be used to watch horse racing in the members' seats. The facilities and conditions of the members' seats are much better than those of the public seats, and the field of vision is wider, and you can see the whole field. I was delayed for a while when buying lottery tickets just now. When I went to the ticket office to buy tickets, I found that the tickets for the members' seats had been sold out, leaving only the public seats. Hearing that there were no tickets, Nangong pouted and asked Su Ming, what should we do? Otherwise, we charge high prices for other people's tickets. Do you think there will be scalpers here? I don't think so. Su Ming shook his head and looked around. There were patrolling policemen almost everywhere around the entrance of the race course. When Su Ming first came to Hong Kong, he had experienced the almost old-fashioned and strict law enforcement of the Hong Kong police. At that time, the taxi driver just parked illegally in an unmanned remote corner of the airport. In less than 10 seconds, he was punished by a female traffic police. Interestingly, the driver was still cursing and urging the female traffic police to issue a ticket quickly. In a place like Happy Valley that attracts everyone's attention, with so many patrolling policemen, there is probably no room for scalpers to survive. Even if there are scalpers, Su Ming doesn't want to buy tickets from them. What I hate most is these ticket scalpers, who disrupt the normal market order, making it impossible for the sick to get a number, and for those who want to go home to buy tickets, and it is still the ordinary people who are cheated. What should we do? Let me think about it. Su Ming scratched his head and thought for a while, and a travel guide to Hong Kong emerged in his mind. There is a trick that can be tried. Have you figured out a way? Nangong asked expectantly. He, Nangong, you look very young today. Huh? Every time you talk like this, it's always bad. Why is it bad? I'll take you to buy clothes. Su Ming pulled her and ran to a clothing store not far away. Ah! Aren't you going to watch horse racing? Why buy clothes now? Shopping for life, buy and wear now. Not long after, Su Ming and Nangong Yan came out of the clothing store not far from the ticket office. Nangong seemed like a different person at this time. She had taken off the lady's dress she was wearing before and stuffed it into her bag. She changed into a pure student outfit. Now she had removed her makeup, changed her high heels into flat sneakers, and carried a school bag behind her. She looked 7 or 8 years younger. Is this okay? Nangong held back his laughter and asked uncertainly. I don't know, anyway, I saw this trick on the internet, it is said to be quite effective. And I believe in your acting skills. Besides, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, anyway, you look pretty good in this outfit. Su Ming looked at Nangong and nodded with satisfaction. Stop it, Nangong laughed so hard. Do you know that when you were checking out just now, the clerk in the clothing store looked at you as if you were a perverted pedophile? This really can't be blamed on the clerk of the clothing store. As soon as Su Ming entered the store, he shouted that he wanted to buy clothes that looked young. The younger the better, it would be best if Nangong could dress up as 12 years old. Nangong was not very old, so the clerk would of course find it strange to hear his request. Thinking of Su Ming's plan, Nangong held back his laughter, pulled him and whispered, Hey, do you think we are too bad, as if we are bullying the police appa? Look at these police appa, they are handsome and cute. What annoys me most is Yang Men Nengji. Su Ming rolled his eyes. Besides, how can it be called bullying? This is called helping the police comrades in Hong Kong to serve the people better. No more talking, I'll go buy tickets, you wait here for me, don't get abducted by human traffickers. Go away, I'm not a real child. Su Ming ran to the ticket window and bought 2 tickets for the public seats, then ran back quickly and handed one to Nangong, and then the two of them walked towards the entrance hand in hand, like an intimate couple. The ticket inspector was a woman in her 30s. After taking the tickets, she looked up at Nangong for a moment, then looked at Su Ming in confusion, but did not let them in. Any questions? Su Ming asked. Hearing Su Ming speaking Mandarin, the ticket inspector became even more confused and turned to look at Nangong. How old are you this year? Are you over 18? Nangong's face flashed a trace of panic as if she was discovered, and then she raised her head, like a rebellious schoolgirl. What do you care? At this time, Nangong spoke quite standard Cantonese. No one under the age of 18 is allowed to enter. Please show me your ID card, the ticket inspector said with a stern face. When she heard that she had to show her ID card, Nangong seemed to panic all of a sudden, and stammered, I've been over 18 for a long time. After that, her big eyes rolled around and she looked at Su Ming for help. The ticket inspector flipped his eyelids and stared at Su Ming. Su Ming frowned slightly, and then, as if he had thought of a countermeasure, he said firmly, You have no right to check my ID card. The female ticket inspector saw the two of them like this, and felt that something was wrong. She simply stopped checking tickets in this channel, greeted her colleagues in Cantonese, and then said to Su Ming and the others, "Wait a moment." After that, she turned and left, walking towards a young policeman who was patrolling not far away. "Wow, it really works." Nangong turned around, turned his back to the others and gestured a scissors hand to Su Ming. "Don't laugh, be careful of being exposed," Su Ming said with a stern face. Soon, the ticket seller brought a young policeman. The policeman was not much older than Su Ming, almost 1.8 meters tall, and wearing a police uniform. The uniform was full of temptation. He glanced at Nangong and Su Ming expressionlessly, and pressed the brim of his hat. "Hello, please show us your ID. We are tourists from the mainland, and we have not committed any illegal acts." "Why do you want to check our IDs?" Su Ming said with his neck tilted up. "I'm sorry, now I have reason to suspect that you have abducted underage girls. Please cooperate and go to the guard room of the horse farm with me." The police in Hong Kong do enforce the law very strictly, but sometimes they are too rigid. When checking, they have the right to take people who do not bring their ID cards back for detention. Moreover, Nangong looks like a minor, which makes people more suspicious. The policeman took out a small notebook and wrote something on it with a serious expression. After finishing writing, he said to the intercom on his shoulder, calling headquarters, "Suspected abduction of underage girls was found at the racecourse, please dispatch an assault vehicle." "Okay, I'll cooperate, but there's no need to dispatch an assault vehicle, I'm not a big gangster." Su Ming shrugged, thinking that you are abusing government resources. Aren't they just two unarmed tourists, and even an assault vehicle is used, isn't the fuel free? Why don't you dispatch the flying tigers? Why don't you apply for the PLA stationed in Hong Kong to be dispatched? Unexpectedly, when he heard the word gangster, the policeman's expression changed, and he jumped back more than a meter away as if facing a great enemy, pressed the gun on his waist, slightly bent his body, and shouted sternly, "Put your hands on your head." Su Ming. "This is good, I didn't encounter gangsters robbing the gold shop on Hennessy Road, but was mistaken for a gangster by this oversensitive policeman at the race course." He obediently brought Nangong and followed the police to the guard room of the horse farm. As soon as they entered the door, Su Ming took out the two people's ID cards and placed them on the table without the other party saying anything. The policeman looked at the dates of birth of the two people on the ID cards, and then carefully looked at their appearance. After comparing them with the ID cards, he was obviously stunned. "Please wait." He turned around and walked out of the door with his ID card, probably to verify it. Not long after, the door to the guard room was pushed open, and the policeman came back from outside. He politely handed back the IDs of the two of them, and said with an apologetic look, "I'm really sorry for wasting your time." On behalf of the racecourse and the police force apologized to the two. Su Ming opened his eyes wide and looked at the police innocently, waiting for him to continue. "In addition, in order to make up for your losses, I have negotiated with the racecourse. If you two are still willing to continue watching horse racing, we will arrange for them to join the membership." Police Appa finally said the most important words. "I didn't expect it to be successful." Su Ming was moved to tears. "This is the people's good policeman. Thank you very much. Also, there is no need to apologize. I am a party member and it is my duty to cooperate with your work." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 313. I'm really sorry for wasting your precious time. The old-fashioned and cute policeman kept sending Su Ming and Nangong to the racecourse gate. When they were leaving, he kept apologizing, not to mention his guilty expression. When parting, Appa also used his own money to give them both a cup of pearl milk tea. If I don't laugh, I won't laugh. I am determined not to laugh. I will definitely be able to hold it back. In the end, I still couldn't hold it in. Police Appa turned around and left. Su Ming and Nangong Yan burst into laughter. Su Ming was holding onto the wall, and Nangong was holding onto Su Ming, both of them almost bent over from laughing. Why is this person so full of evil? Nangong leaned on Su Ming, slapped him on the shoulder with a small slap, and the milk tea in his other hand splashed everywhere, laughing. His whole body was trembling, and he couldn't speak fully. He said intermittently, "My stomach hurts from laughing so much, just now, in the guard room, I almost couldn't hold it in." After all, Su Ming was a gay man, and his smile was relatively high. Although he was very happy, he finally managed to keep the milk tea in his hand from spilling. To be honest, he had no hope of succeeding in this damaging move that he learned from the internet. Because he was traveling, it didn't matter whether he succeeded or not. It didn't matter even if the police didn't let them come to the member's seat in the end, they just treated him as a little kid. Little adventure and fun. Little did I know, it actually happened, exactly like what was said in the online guide. These Xiangjiang police are so annoying. It won't be an example next time. It won't be an example next time. The policeman brother is so cute and cute. I want to tell him the truth. Su Ming took a sip of the milk tea. He didn't know if it was because of his psychological effect. He always felt better than the one sold in Yangchuan City. Delicious. I'm a party member, so it's not good to worship foreigners like this all the time. But having said that, I have returned a long time ago, and the policeman brother and milk tea are not considered foreign. Give me a sip, damn, I've spilled all my cup. Nangong took a breath, leaned over and sucked at the straw of the milk tea in Su Ming's hand, watching half the cup of milk tea disappear quickly. She finally retracted her mouth with satisfaction. While they were talking, the two people had already walked up to the member seats on the second floor. It is indeed a high salary. Not only does it have a wide view and a large space, but there is also a buffet in the back, with free fruit drinks, small cakes and other things to eat, and there is also a barbecue. If this were done in the mainland, a 100 yuan ticket to the membership station would be a dead end. Maybe many people would buy a ticket and be able to eat here for a day. But there weren't many people picking up food in the back. Even though the game hadn't started yet, most of the people in the stands were already concentrating on the playing field below. Occasionally, when some people passed by the buffet, they also grabbed some drinks or something. There were almost no people. The situation that Su Ming imagined was like filling a large plate with a plate. Damn it, I'm a fan of foreign things again. Nangong took out his phone, shook it, and said with a smile, I secretly filmed the policeman brother. If I put the video on the live broadcast platform, it will definitely become popular. I am very sure of that. However, Su Ming still had some bottom line. Although he was joking, no matter what, the police had helped him and performed their duties very well. He was kept in the dark and the video was posted online. How would he work and behave in the future? It would be strange not to be laughed at. Isn't this sowing cross-strait conflicts? Oh, I know, then I'll delete the video. Nangong stuck out his tongue and deleted the video. Su Ming led her through the back row and found that people smoking and drinking could be seen everywhere. There were also a lot of cigarette butts, lottery tickets, and other garbage scattered on the ground. Nangong Yan smiled and said, look, it's not about capital, it's alright, but Yangchuan City still bans smoking in public places. Nangong had not done any homework before coming, but Su Ming knew that there were no smoking signs posted everywhere on Xiangjiang Street, and littering could even lead to a fine of 2,000 Hong Kong dollars. The management was very strict. The racecourse is a special case. Once there, you are absolutely free to relax and smoke. If you want to smoke or drink, no one will care if you throw it on the ground. There is actually no space left in the member's seat. People are everywhere chatting with each other or studying horse racing with their heads down. Fortunately, there is not much to pay attention to when watching horses. Relaxation is the first priority. Many people are lying on the railing. Su Ming simply stepped out and sat directly on the railing. Nangong was lying on the railing on one side, stretching his neck and looking down. The track below is a circular track with a total length of more than 1,400 meters. Each race has 12 horses. Judging from the preview, there will be 8 races tonight, 2 long-distance races of 2,200 meters, 2 midway races of 1,600 meters, and the rest 4 short to medium distance games. One characteristic of horse racing is that no matter how long the race is, the end position remains the same, but the starting point changes. After calculating the starting position, a large tractor will pull the horse gate to the starting point. After the jockey takes the horse into the gate, he can prepare to start the race. There is still a while before the start of the race, and even the jockeys and horses are not on the field. On the big screen opposite the race course, information about the 12 horse racing horses participating in the first 800-meter race has begun to scroll. The host uses a mellow voice to address the audience. Introducing these horses and their jockeys. Which one should I buy? Which one should I buy? Nangong came to see a horse race for the first time. Before he saw the horse, he was aroused by the atmosphere at the scene. He dragged Su Ming and was extremely excited. Calm down, the snot bubbles are about to pop out. No way. Nangong couldn't help but touched his nose. Su Ming turned on the camera of his mobile phone and the 4G network, and connected to the video with Wang Hao. Wang Hao was holding a large pile of documents in his hand, which were probably the resume materials for applying for the anchor position. You are having fun, kid. Gosh, are you watching the game? From the camera of Su Ming's mobile phone, he could just see the large lawn of the race course. Wang Hao thought it was a football field. I am at the race course. Don't say I am disloyal. There are 12 horses in total. Which one do you like? I will help you place a bet. Su Ming smiled and pointed the camera at the big screen in the distance. I can't see the name at all. So, you buy me the one with the coolest name, 500 yuan. The coolest name? Su Ming went through them one by one from top to bottom: Changshan Storm, Thunderbolt Gun, Bailey Wang, Tianchen Guo Ki. Well, this cool one is called Governor's Scepter. Okay, if you win, it's yours; if you don't, it's mine. After turning off the phone, there was a small commotion on the track below, and many tourists and gamblers left their seats and rushed to the small track beside the race course. The jockeys finally led their horses out and walked casually to the small exhibition area on the left side of the race course, accepting the final inspection of the gamblers. The gamblers can seize this last opportunity to observe the status of the horses and jockeys in order to determine the final bet. The results of horse racing have a lot to do with the status before the race. A horse with very good performance usually runs very far behind if it is listless before the race. On the contrary, even a horse with very poor performance usually can be upset if it is in high spirits. There is a difference between animals and humans. Humans can rely on various scientific methods to reduce the impact of the status as much as possible, but animals cannot. It is their nature and they are 100% affected by the current status. A lot of gamblers in the member seats also left, walking down the steps on the side in 2s and 3s to see the horses. Su Ming and Nangong squeezed into the crowd below, and saw that the race horses were completely different from the horses used for taking photos in the zoo. Each of them had fine fur and a strong body. Before the race, they had their manes cut and their tails trimmed neatly. They swayed in the wind, and were softer than Rejoice. However, the jockeys were relatively less attractive. Most of them were still handsome, but unfortunately, in order to reduce the weight of the race horses, all jockeys had 2 common characteristics: first, they were thin, and second, they were short. They were as thin as they could be, and as short as they could be. If someone like Su Ming stood among the jockeys, he would definitely be called tall and mighty. So handsome, Nangong was bold, so he stretched his head out and approached a black horse called Deku Ihuo. He quickly took a selfie and posted it to his friends excitedly, completely forgetting the original intention of coming to see the horses. In fact, it was useless to remember the original intention. They came down to observe the status of the race horses, but Nangong didn't know anything about horses, and Su Ming didn't know anything about horsemanship. It was difficult to tell the status of a horse from its eyes. However, he had mental power. The mental power was spread out, covering all 12 horses. Horse racing and human competitions have something in common. For example, in the 110-meter hurdles at the Olympics, the athletes themselves cannot be sure of the results. No matter how strong Lu Xiang is or how good Colt is at flying, they dare not guarantee that they can get a certain place before the game starts. However, as athletes competing in the same field, they still have a certain understanding of their own status and the general situation of their opponents. For example, if Lu Xiang feels that his status is okay today and there are not too many strong players on the field, although he dare not guarantee that he will get the first place, he is still sure of the top 3. The current situation is like this. When the mental power comes into contact, the big eyes of these horses turn several times at the same time, shake their long flowing tails, and turn their heads to look at Su Ming curiously. How are you? How do you feel today? Are you confident? What? You are full of strength, hungry / thirsty? Stop bragging / I just read the Horse Sutra, no one is optimistic about you. Yeah, you had good results before, and you are confident today, very good, I am optimistic about you. The intelligence of horses is not inferior to monkeys, and they are more friendly than monkeys. Su Ming's communication with these 12 horses is very smooth, and it doesn't take much effort to figure out their general self-evaluation. The racehorse named De Kui Wo that took a photo with Nangong just now feels the best. Although his performance was average before, this guy is like Ye Liangchen's possession at this time, and his self-confidence is overflowing. Come on, comrades, I wish you good results. He said hello to the race horses, pulled Nangong, and ran to the betting point. Let's go, place the bet. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 314. There are many ways to bet on horses, and there are various betting combinations. Su Ming didn't have the time to study them one by one, so he just picked a few simple and common ones to take a look. Single win means guessing the first place in a certain game. Position means guessing a horse to run in the top 3. The odds of winning these two categories are relatively high, so the odds are relatively low. Even if the odds of the horse itself are taken into account, the numbers are not surprising, just a few times or dozens of times. For example, in a game of 12 horses, if you win the single win, theoretically it is 12 times, the position is 4 times. However, each horse has its own odds. For the same single win, if you buy the hot favorite, you will get less compensation, and if you win the big upset, you will get more. If you buy the Governor's Scepter, which is the hottest single win this time, and the Governor's Scepter finally wins the first place, you can only get about 8.92. The big upset of the single win, Lion Castle Dragon, if it wins, the upset can be compensated 21 times. Su Ming paid special attention to Lion Castle Dragon before, hoping to make a big upset. The result is disappointing. No wonder this horse is a big underdog. The state is very strange. There is no fighting spirit at all. It is quite decadent and a little rogue. It looks like a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water. Anyway, I am at the bottom. Can I still run a negative ranking? Horses are naturally competitive and unwilling to admit defeat. In the wild, when a horse in a herd of wild horses starts running, the rest of the horses will follow without hesitation. This is not following, but surpassing, Humans often use the spirit of dragon and horse to describe a person's tenacious struggle. I don't know how the jockey trained him. He actually trained the naturally high-spirited racehorse into a decadent hooligan horse. In addition to the single win, position, and other types of small odds and simple gameplay, there are also several types of complex gameplay with large odds but very low chances of winning. It involves the permutations and combinations of middle school mathematics. Win streak, guess the first and second place in a race, 12 horses race, theoretically can reach 66 times. Single T, guess the first, second, and third place, the order doesn't matter, can reach an astonishing 220 times. Triple lottery, that is, accurately guess the first, second, and third place horses. Su Ming's math teacher died early, and he used his mobile phone to fiddle with it for a while, and it exceeded 1,000 times. The most frightening is the 4-color lottery and the 4-link ring. The 4-color lottery and the 4-link ring both guess 1,234, the difference is that the former requires an accurate ranking, while the latter does not. If you want to correspond, the odds are about 10,000 times and 500 times. No wonder in Hong Kong movies, all Hong Kong people are like crazy betting on horses. Once they have the so-called insider information, they even borrow money to gamble. Buy 1,000 yuan of 4-color lottery, and win it. 10 million. For the first time, Su Ming felt that his efficiency in making money was really too low. Of course, it is not so easy to bet on it. Horse racing is quite complicated. Different betting methods, fluctuations in odds, horse status and performance, and many other factors constitute the various points of a constantly changing matrix. In theory, if you want to make money, you have to choose several points that are in the optimal state and make a move at the moment when this horse racing matrix is most stable. Therefore, many horse racing books and newspapers are popular in Hong Kong, which specialize in teaching people to bet on horses, and various experts and horse racing gods have become popular. However, it doesn't matter. It's the same as buying lottery tickets. If the expert horse racing god is really that good, why would he sell horse racing books? Su Ming first bought Wang Hao a governor's scepter single win for 500 yuan, and then thought about it and placed a bet based on the information he just got from the horses. Number 4 Grand Mercure single win 500 yuan, Grand Justice, Grand Mercure, Governor's Scepter triple color 500 yuan, Governor's Scepter, Grand Mercure consecutive win 500 yuan. Nangong didn't understand anything, and said, I also buy Grand Mercure single win, 500 yuan. 2,000 Hong Kong dollars were handed over in exchange for 4 printed receipts. In most cases, this money is a waste of money, contributing to the charity and welfare of the SAR government and the development of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. After returning to the stands, the tractor on the field below has lowered the horse gate, and the riders are riding into the gate, waiting for the order to start the race. There is also a small episode. The 11 horses followed their riders into the gate honestly, but the underdog, Lion Castle Dragon, used his head to hold the gate. No matter how the jockey urged, he just twisted his head and refused to enter the gate. The audience on both floors of the racecourse burst into laughter. The jockey was also very embarrassed. He got off the horse and gently brushed the mane of the lion's calf with a brush. At the same time, he lay beside the lion's ear and muttered something, as if begging it. Nangong was also very surprised and asked curiously, is there a racehorse that doesn't listen to its owner? Of course, horses are animals after all. Su Ming shrugged. The relationship between racehorses and jockeys is a cooperative relationship, not a superior-subordinate relationship. Not to mention racehorse jockeys, even animals in the zoo have their own personality characteristics. Sometimes when they get angry, they may not listen to you completely. You have to coax, deceive, and scare them like taking care of children. When betting on horses, you often see this kind of interesting emergencies. Horses with personality are very popular, such as this lion's calf. Even though the record of each game is not good, the organizer will invite it and the jockey to attend every game. I think you treat women the same way. Coaxing and deceiving. Nangong took out a lollipop and stuffed it into his mouth, muttering as he sucked it. You're so grown up, eat less lollipops. How can you go on TV if your teeth are damaged? Su Ming glared, snatched the lollipop and stuffed it into his mouth. Nangong. The jockey kept talking for almost 7 or 8 minutes, and the Chevalong finally twisted his legs and reluctantly got into the horse gate. On the big screen of the racecourse, 12 horses were already waiting behind the gate, and the entire racecourse suddenly became silent. Under mechanical control, a row of horse gates was slowly pulled upward at the same time, and all the horses rushed out of the gates almost at the same time. Including the Chevalong who refused to enter the gate at the beginning, the 12 horses rushed towards the finish line with forehooves like the wind. The jockey was already sitting on the horse with the stirrups on, his body floating, bobbing up and down to the rhythm of the horse. At the beginning of the game, the audience on the sidelines did not shout loudly. On the contrary, they all remained surprisingly quiet. The only thing the audience could hear was the host's voice on the loudspeaker. The leader now is the governor's scepter. The governor's scepter is the favorite in this competition. Wow, the justice is close behind, only half a horse away. The first race was only a short distance of 800 meters, and after running less than 300 meters, the order was already obvious. The first echelon is led by the 2 most popular horses in this game, the governor's scepter and the chancellor. And the unpopular Chevalong lived up to expectations and landed in last place. What happened? Wow, happy life. It's Great Happy Life. After half a bend, Great Happy Life caught up and was already in 3rd place. Wow, Great Happy Life passed the justice again, and the justice overtook him again. Wow. Enter the dragon and the tiger. The 2 horses are now tied for 2nd place. Half a corner later, the happy horse in good condition suddenly exerted force and caught up from 5th place, keeping pace with the 2nd place. It hurt so much, Su Ming suddenly felt something pricked his palm hard. It turned out that Nangong was so nervous when he saw that the doing happiness he bought was about to get upset, and his nails pinched his palm. This 800-meter race is very short. From the time the horse leaves the gate to when it is almost finished, the host of the race only has time to say a few words. When there were only the last 50 meters to the finish line, all eyes were focused on the 3 or 4 horses in the first group. The racecourse, which had been unusually quiet just now, suddenly boiled into flames with a deafening roar when the winning horse passed the last corner and was less than 50 meters away from the finish line. Almost all the gamblers stood up and rushed to the fence, or jumped directly on the stool, waving their horse tickets and cheering for the horse they bought at the top of their lungs. Great joy, come on, come on. Great joy. Nangong was so excited that he sweated, and a wisp of sweat stuck to his forehead. The governor's scepter leads the way, great happiness and the justice goes hand in hand. Oh God, Huanghe Industrial has exerted its strength, surpassing the 2 horses in front in a row, and actually competing with the justice for 3rd place. When we were about to reach the end, something unexpected happened again. A horse named Huanghe Industry, who performed mediocrely in the competition, suddenly started to exert force, passing several horses in front of it, and even got rid of the 3 favorites of this race, Justice. He split a length of horse and rushed to the 3rd position, competing with De Quewo for 2nd place. The whole place was in an uproar, and even Su Ming couldn't help but stand up and cheer loudly for Happy. This is the charm of horse racing. No matter how discerning the jockey is, no matter how knowledgeable the horse expert is, he still doesn't know what will happen next. Soon after, the governor's scepter was the first to cross the finish line, followed closely by Foxwoods and Huanghe Industrial almost at the same time, while the Chief Justice was 2 horses behind in 4th place. The horses filed in from behind. Since there was only a slight gap between the 2nd and 3rd place, which could not be seen clearly by ordinary viewers. A slow-motion replay was played on the big screen, and the host's voice sounded, "The governor's scepter has lived up to expectations and won the championship. The competition for second place is so fierce." Dewiwo was an upset, leading Huanghe Industrial with a gap of half a horse's head. When the dust settled, the gamblers had different expressions. Those who had won were dancing and hugging each other to celebrate. Those who had not won threw their lottery tickets on the ground, and some even spat and cursed. At this moment, there was another burst of laughter from the sidelines. Everyone's attention was focused on the first group just now, and no one noticed what happened behind them. Before the Chevalong ran 500 meters, it was already dropped 20 or 30 meters by other horses, and no one noticed it. The jockey of Chevalong was probably thrown off his horse. It was not until long after all the horses had passed the finish line that he held Chevalong and limped across the finish line. Despite the laughter, there was still sparse applause from the sidelines to praise the jockey's professionalism. No matter what, he persisted in finishing the race. Chevaosaurus has probably never received so much attention before, and he shook his mane proudly. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 315. After the first race, during the break, gamblers went to cash in their prizes or place bets for the next race. Money is gone and people are at peace, and gambling is not a loss. Gamblers will never leave the race until they lose every penny. As long as the horse race is still going on, there is endless hope. The huge race course is like a perpetual motion machine that absorbs huge wealth without stopping. No. Happy. Nangong grumbled. She and Su Ming both bought a single win for the Grand Mercure, but the Grand Mercure came in second, just a little short. On the contrary, the horse Governor's Scepter that Wang Hao bet on casually won a single win and won more than 6,000. You're still not satisfied? Have you forgotten that I also bought triple lottery and consecutive wins? Nangong was very confused about this complicated calculation method, and didn't know how it was calculated. He just asked in confusion, "Did you win?" Su Ming and Nangong were queuing up to receive the prize. He looked at the 3 lottery tickets in his hand and said, "This Yellow River Industry suddenly rushed out, and the triple lottery didn't win, but the consecutive win seemed to win, the Governor's Scepter, the first and second place of the Grand Joy." Before Nangong could speak, several horse bettors in front of him turned around one after another, their faces full of envy and jealousy. "Wow, the young man won the consecutive bet and got rich. It's unfair that he can come in second in the Grand Elysium." Seeing the excitement of the people around him, Nangong understood a little bit. He estimated that he could make a lot of money by winning consecutively. He asked Su Ming with wide eyes, "How many times can you win? Is it more than a single win? Do you know horses, beautiful girl? A single win is up to 12 times, wet and broken." This handsome guy won the consecutive bet, and there is a rare one like Grand Elysium, at least more than 60 times, an old man holding a fan interrupted and said with a smile. 6, more than 60 times, Nangong's eyes were suddenly filled with countless little stars, and he pulled Su Ming's sleeve. "Wow, he's rich now. Can you be more reserved?" "I'm drooling." Su Ming smiled and didn't take it too seriously. 500 more than 60 times, just more than 30,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is nothing to him. Even Nangong, with a lot of monthly salary, bonuses, and subsidies, his income has exceeded 10,000 yuan, so 30,000 yuan is not surprising. Although he doesn't care, he is still very happy. This money is like picking up for free. He doesn't make money by betting on horses. He just wants to have fun. Yellow River Industry, it sounds like the horse sponsored by MaleProtagonist Group. If it weren't for this guy, we would have won the triple lottery, and that would be really rich, 1,000 times, Su Ming laughed. Yes, MaleProtagonist is really a piece of shit. He is so rich, but he still snatches this little betting money from us ordinary people. It's too bad, Nangong nodded vigorously. Nangong's words are purely unreasonable and weird. If it is a large-scale competition, the prize money won by a horse race, the owner will take the majority, about 70% minus 80%, and the jockey will get 10% minus 20%. Unless it is said that this horse was bought by Li Kaorin himself, he will not get a penny. It is normal for a group as big as Huanghe Industrial to sponsor a few named race horses, and it may not have anything to do with Li Kaorin himself. However, Nangong is beautiful and lively. When she heard what she said, many Hong Kong people who were queuing to receive the prize laughed, and some even followed her to curse Li Kaorin. Li Kaorin's position in the hearts of Hong Kong people is very strange. The shadow of Li Jiaqin Group can be seen in every aspect of Hong Kong people's lives. They live in Li Kaorin's house, use the water, electricity, gas of their group, look at the furniture made by them, and go out to see the department stores and subways and trams under Li Kaorin. Some people say that from the birth to the death of every Hong Kong person, everything they do and every money they spend will flow into Li Kaorin's pocket. So ordinary Hong Kong people love and hate Li Kaorin. After receiving the prize, the odds were converted to a total of 38,000 Hong Kong dollars. Holding it in my hand, it was a thick stack, like a brick. The greatest magic of the casino is not only that those who lose money don't want to leave, but those who win money don't want to leave even more. Anyway, Su Ming and Nangong didn't care about 30,000 or 40,000 yuan, so they decided to continue playing. There were still 7 games left today. This time they played a little bigger, betting on single win, consecutive win, position, triple color, and single T, each of which cost 2,000 yuan. Nangong was stimulated by Su Ming's consecutive wins just now, so he gave up single win and bought 3 consecutive wins respectively. The 40,000 yuan in hand was spent more than 20,000 yuan in a blink of an eye. The old man holding the fan who had just spoken saw Su Ming increase his bet in a blink of an eye, and couldn't help shaking his head, looking like an experienced person, and advised, "Young man, there is no general who always wins in the casino. Uncle has a lifetime of experience. If you win money, stop as soon as possible. Uncle, you are so knowledgeable, but you still line up to bet like me. This is the charm of gambling. Even though you know you will lose, you still can't help but take a gamble," Su Ming said. The old man was stunned, and then he laughed. "All gamblers in the world are the same, they won't leave until they lose everything. Uncle, I wish you good luck." "I wish you good luck too." Su Ming waved the horse ticket in his hand to the old man, and took Nangong back to the member seat. The second race started soon, a 1,000-meter short distance race. Before this race, Su Ming did not communicate with the horses, but just relied on the advice given by the experts in the horse manual and bet casually. As a result, 20,000 yuan was lost in a minute. Before the third race, Su Ming learned from the lesson just now. It seems that the words of these ghost experts cannot be trusted at all. If you believe them, you will lose everything. He took Nangong and talked to the 12 horses in the third race one by one. This horse race partially overlapped with the first horse race. Happy was still there, and unexpectedly, the chevalang who made a fool of himself in the first race was also there. De Kui Huo was full of confidence this time, and his eyes were full of fighting spirit, while Shi Baolong still looked carefree, as if I was a gangster and who should I be afraid of, and at worst they wouldn't let me compete. It seems like this is a horse with a story. Returning to the betting point, I saw the old man again. The old man was holding a single win horse ticket, and he was in high spirits. It seemed that he won a lot in the second game, and he probably made more than 10 times the profit. Seeing Su Ming throw the lottery ticket into the trash can, the old man waved the fan in his hand, walked over, and said proudly, "Young man, you lose." There is a saying in mainland China, if you don't listen to the old man's words, you will suffer the consequences. Ah! Uncle, you're right. 20,000 yuan is just a gift to the jockey club, so why not take the pretty girl to the bar? As I got closer this time, I discovered that the old man had a mass of tattoos on his forearm, and he was limping when he walked. The hand holding the fan was trembling, as if he had been seriously injured. It seems that when this old man was young, he was probably a member of a gang. There are many old people like this in Xiangjiang. When they were young, they were involved in the society and worked as a laborer. When they were old, they retired due to injuries or various reasons. Their old age was desolate. They were childless and alone. They spent all day betting on horse racing, listening to operas, and passing the time with young people. Time. This old man has money to buy a horse and can still sit in the membership seat, which at least means that he is doing well financially and is not the kind of down-and-out boss who is so poor that he sleeps on the street. But this is none of my business. As a party member, am I still afraid of a retired boss? Su Ming chuckled. There is a saying in mainland China, which is to take from the people and use it for the people. I am a party member, so the little money I have should be donated to charity. The old man laughed exaggeratedly. Young man, use the People's Liberation Army to scare my uncle. The two of them were joking and laughing, and it was Su Ming's turn to place a bet. He only bought 5,000 yuan to win this time. Nangong became more and more interested, and actually bought a trifecta with odds of more than 1,000 yuan. According to her, if you want to win, you will win big. At the beginning of the third round of competition, De Kuiwo took the lead and broke out of the stalls. He maintained a huge advantage from beginning to end, leading the second place by 3 lengths and crossing the finish line. Nangong lost 1,000 yuan, and Su Ming happily won alone, 11 times the amount, and his gambling capital quickly climbed to over 60,000 yuan. With his previous experience, Su Ming roughly figured out the temperament of those horses, and communicated more effectively. In the next 2 games, Su Ming bought 5 times, 3 times he was wrong and he lost, and twice he was lucky and won. Betting on horse racing is a small gamble. Losing is only a small amount of capital, but winning once is an income that is several times, dozens, or even hundreds of times. After 2 successful purchases, one was a winning streak of 66 times, and the other was a single T of 220 times, the bet suddenly increased to an astonishing 720,000. If it's more, there's no need to settle in cash, it can be paid directly into the card or horse racing account. Nangong's bag was already stuffed with cash. The girl's face was almost numb with laughter. She hugged the bag in her arms and followed Su Ming as if she was a fat boy. Hey, 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 we won so much money, the racecourse won't send the underworld to rob us secretly, right? Nangong had watched a lot of Xiangjiang movies and asked Su Ming in a low voice, a little worried. If you win so much money in an underground illegal casino, you will definitely not be able to get out, but the jockey club and the racecourse are serious official backgrounds. Not to mention winning more than 600,000, even if you win 600 million, Nangong's story will not happen. Of this situation, it's like buying a Mark 6 lottery. Not only will the winner not be hunted down by the SAR government, the government will also help you keep it secret and provide security. The old man who had retired from the club and had always pretended to be a veteran now no longer relied on his old age. He followed Su Ming and regarded Su Ming as a beacon. Whatever Su Ming bought, the old man followed suit. After buying a bet, the old man followed up from behind with a fan in hand, pulled Su Ming aside, and asked mysteriously, "Young man, do you have any inside information? Give it to uncle, I'll give it to you dividends." "Uncle, jokes like this will kill people. I'm a mainland tourist, so I don't know the inside story. I'm just lucky." Su Ming shrugged. "Uncle has been gambling all his life and has never seen anyone with such good luck." The old man refused to give up. "After each game, the big screen will display a row of information about the winner, including the winner, winning method, and amount, to stimulate more people to place bets. Of course, there is no specific information about the winner, only Mr. and Ms. In the fourth scene, the name of Mr. Su appeared on the big screen, in the 8th position. At the end of the 5th game, some savvy gamblers discovered that there was still a Mr. Su on the screen, but he had climbed to 3rd place. At the beginning of the 6th race, the moment the 12 horses rushed out of the gate, even Su Ming, who had been calm all this time, couldn't help but feel a little thump in his heart. He clenched his fists and his palms were slightly sweaty. Nangong was so nervous that he couldn't say anything. He hugged Su Ming tightly, his hands shaking slightly. This time, Su Ming invested in 3 ways, all of which were permutations and combinations. The lowest one was 66 times winning streak. Of the 3 ways, the lowest one was bought for 20,000 yuan. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 316. The 2,200-meter middle and long-distance race ended quickly. When all the horses crossed the finish line, the winning list was displayed on the big screen. Wow, I saw Mr. Su again, the host's exaggerated voice sounded throughout the audience. I wonder if it's the same Mr. Su from before. If it's the same person, it would be a huge profit. Who is this Mr. Su? He is simply a horse god. Another host was joking and said, buy every game, every game. If he keeps winning like this, the entire jockey club will be bought by him. Mr. Su, who won the first prize, bought 3 types and won a trifecta. The meaning of the trifecta is that in this race, the horse accurately guesses the first, second, and third place. There are a total of 14 horses participating in this middle distance and long distance race, and 3 of the 14 are selected. From a probability perspective, there are a total of 2,184 possibilities for permutations and combinations. It is a super grand prize and a small probability event. On the big screen, after tax deduction, Mr. Su's bonus was a long series of numbers starting with 4, with a total of 8 digits before the decimal point. The entire racecourse is a little excited. Even for horses that often win big prizes, winning tens of millions at once is not very common. It is often difficult to encounter it several times in a season. However, most of the people who often come to bet on horse racing have seen something of the world. The bonus of tens of millions in a game is astonishing. If you look at the history of horse racing betting in Hong Kong, it has been awarded many times. Moreover, there are too many ways to bet on horse racing, and most of them are through phone calls and off-site betting. Therefore, although some were surprised by Mr. Su's good luck, the gamblers in the racecourse still remained calm and did their own thing. Place your bet on the next game. Mr. Su was leading Nangong at this time, observing the next horse race at the small track below. Nangong still has no intention of watching horses. Her little heart almost burst out of her chest. Her little face was so red that she was a little unsteady. If Su Ming hadn't been supporting her, she would have just seen the word Mr. Su win the prize on the big screen. At the moment of the message, Nangong's legs almost gave out and he fell down. Calm down, be sure to calm down. It's only tens of millions. The assets in my name, your husband's, if converted, are in the tens of millions. Even Su Ming couldn't persuade him, let alone Nangong. He used the strength of his boss, and Zhao Yun helped behind the scenes. In 1 year, he only established a few companies with assets of tens of millions. But now, a trip and more than an hour of horse racing can bring in more than 40 million. Although it is Hong Kong dollars, if it is converted into Chinese currency, it will cost 40 million. An hour of joy is worth a year of hard work. Ordinary people work hard for a lifetime. A horse will not grow fat without night grass, and a man will not be rich without windfall. No wonder the people of Xiangjiang love gambling so much. He now has a deep understanding of why so many people in Xiangjiang like to bet on horse racing. Many poor people would rather skip a meal in order to have money left over for gambling. Investing dozens of dollars and winning a big one can completely change your destiny. And the probability of this thing is much greater than that of the lottery. Winning alone depends purely on luck, and the probability is almost 10%. Even the most difficult quadruple lottery, the probability is more than 1 in 20,000. Both the British government and the Tsar government allow legal horse racing, which has even played a role in stabilizing society to a large extent. Will we become billionaires after we leave the racecourse? Nangong has already begun to drift. There are still 2 horse races left. According to Su Ming's current unstoppable luck, he can win again at will. It's 100 million, completely possible. The old man who had just been following behind to ask for inside information suddenly squeezed in front of Su Ming, pressed his straw hat, came up to the mountain and whispered with a smile, "Mr. Su, can you take a step to talk?" Unconsciously, the title changed from younger boy to Mr. Su. Hearing the old man say the words Mr. Su, Nangong glared at him fiercely. This old man is too bad. These 3 words Mr. Su are too lethal now. It would not be a good thing if others heard them. Okay, Su Ming nodded and led Nangong away from the small track. The old man limped to the 2nd floor and led the 2 of them to a happy stand. The so-called happy stand is a small semicircular seat that protrudes outward, where friends can watch horse racing, drink beer and chat. Since it is semi-open, it has a certain degree of privacy. "Mr. Su, please sit down. My uncle will buy you a beer." "My dear, you don't need to be so nervous. This is the Jockey Club, not Kowloon City. No one dares to snatch your bag." After arriving at the happy stand on the 2nd floor, the lame old man seemed to have a bit of momentum, and he generously asked the waiter to bring him a few cans of Blue Girl. Seeing the old man's behavior, it seemed that he wasn't asking for some insider tips from him. Su Ming shook Nangong's hand, told her not to be nervous, and said with a smile, "Uncle, what do you call me?" "Just call me Uncle Li." Uncle Li put his crutch aside and asked directly, "Su Sheng, are you ready to place bets on the next 2 games?" Su Ming shrugged, "My fortune is so good now, I would be sorry to God if I didn't gamble." "Okay, young people should dare to fight and fight hard. Uncle Li is more courageous than you at your age." Uncle Li nodded, and instead of saying "I'll give it up," he gave Su Ming a thumbs up appreciatively, but immediately after, he changed the subject and said with a smile, "But, we also have to. There is a way for others to survive." After hearing what Uncle Li said, Su Ming finally understood. What way to survive? Who is given a way to survive? The promise was obvious. A casino is a casino, whether it has an official background or not. Quantitative changes lead to qualitative changes. Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands is nothing, but the concept of winning or losing tens of millions in one night is completely different. Almost all the Jockey Club's profit today fell into his own pocket, which is enough to make the Jockey Club a little moved. And he has been winning. If he continues to bet in the next 2 games, as Nangong had just predicted, it is likely to reach hundreds of millions. "Uncle Li, I didn't know that the Jockey Club is actually related to the club." Su Ming did not agree directly, but changed the topic. Uncle Li laughed and said, "This is Xiangjiang. If it were a few decades earlier, if you went out and looked at any restaurant, casino, or bus, there would be no sign of a club behind it. However, I have nothing to do with the Jockey Club. Even in associations, there are still patriotic people. Hong Kong's economy is prosperous and social stability is everyone's responsibility." Su Ming almost sprayed Uncle Li with a sip of beer. He distanced himself from his relationship with the Jockey Club and refused to admit that he was entrusted by the Jockey Club to come to find him. This was understandable. but the style of the last sentence is completely wrong. Uncle Lee came up and said with a smile, "Mr. Su has superb gambling skills. The only things you can gamble in Xiangjiang are Mark 6 lottery and horse racing. There is not much oil and water. The water here is too shallow to accommodate dragons. Why not use these tens of millions of capital to go let's have some fun over there in Macau?" "Oh, I understand. Do you think I am some kind of gambling master who comes here just to mess up the place?" Su Ming suddenly realized that just now he thought that the Xiangjiang Jockey Club was too petty and only had tens of millions, so he sent someone to I tried to persuade myself not to gamble, as it would be a loss of status. You know, the Hong Kong Jockey Club can be regarded as the most high-end club in Hong Kong, with an annual turnover of 100 billion and billions of profits, and it bears more than 10% of the tax revenue in Hong Kong. Although it adopts a membership system and the organizational structure is relatively loose, any member is a social celebrity. Among them, there are hundreds of core members of the so-called selected members. Each of them is a figure who can cause a small-scale earthquake by hiding in Hong Kong. To name a few familiar ones, such as the chief of the Special Administrative Region, Lee Keorin, and the chairman of the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. Chairman of Sun Hung Kai, Chief Justice. The Jockey Club must have thought that he was a master of gambling. If he were allowed to continue betting, it would not be a matter of tens or even hundreds of millions. If the other party can't find any evidence that he's cheating, even if he wins more than a billion or even billions, the Jockey Club will have no choice but to admit it with pinched noses. Therefore, in this case, Uncle Lee, who came from a society, acted as a middleman to negotiate. Uncle Lee continued, "All the money earned by the Jockey Club is used for charity and for the people of Xiangjiang. Su Shen, you just said that you are a party member, so you can't compete with the people for money." "Really?" Su Ming almost laughed again. He didn't know whether Uncle Lee really didn't understand or pretended not to understand. "Besides, isn't Macau also our territory? The money you win from the Jockey Club is the money you win from the SAR government," Uncle Lee said with a smile. "I pay taxes," Su Ming said. However, after Su Ming won 40 million, he was originally considering quitting as soon as it was good. As the largest official gambling organization in Hong Kong, Su Ming did not believe that there was no way to deal with gambling masters. If it was left to its own devices, the Hong Kong Jockey Club would have been hollowed out by gambling masters all over the world. If you insist on continuing to place bets, there is no need for any society to come forward to solve the problem. The Jockey Club will naturally find ways to prevent itself from winning. A person must be content. Now it is like a trip to Xiangjiang. All the people of Xiangjiang each give themselves $6. More than 40 million yuan falls from the sky and hits their heads. They forcefully snatch food from the mouth of the SAR government. There are also what dissatisfaction. Now that someone from the Jockey Club has come forward, it's time to borrow Posia donkey. Just as he was about to speak, a waiter suddenly came over from a distance and whispered something to Uncle Lee. Uncle Lee kept nodding, and after the waiter left, "So Su Sheng and Jackie are friends. He is in the VIP box above, inviting you to drink tea." The VIP box is also a member box, but it cannot be entered by ordinary people with money. Only serious members of the Hong Kong Jockey Club are eligible to watch horse racing in the box. Su Ming was stunned. Didn't he say he was busy making a new film? Why did you come here to bet on horse racing? Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 317. Pushing open the door of the box, there is a large French window on one side of the box, and the entire runway below can be clearly seen. Two people are standing in front of the French window, with their backs to Su Ming, looking at the racecourse below. When they heard someone coming in, the two turned around at the same time. One was Jackie, and seeing the other person, Nangong couldn't help but shout, "Long Wu." This man has a slightly long square face with hard facial lines. Although due to his age, his face inevitably has wrinkles like gullies, his figure is straight, wearing a suit and standing there, not smiling, like a sharp steel knife. Also due to his age, although he is heroic, he seems very restrained and not aggressive. If Zhao Yun is a middle-aged handsome man who walks the elegant route, then the man in front of him is a hardline uncle. Hearing Nangong call out the word Long Wu, Jackie and the hardline uncle looked at each other and laughed at the same time. When the tough uncle had a serious face just now, he made people feel like an iceberg, keeping people away from him. After he smiled, Su Ming realized that such a tough guy actually had a pair of peach blossom eyes. Brother Shi, I told you that you are more powerful than the god of gamblers, Jackie laughed. The tough uncle called Brother Shi shrugged and said, it seems that my acting skills are really bad. I have played so many roles, but only Long Wu can be remembered. The uncle in front of him, oh, should I say the eldest brother, or the big boss, is Xiang Huaqiang, who played the loyal and cold-faced bodyguard Long Wu in the series of gambling movies God of Gamblers and Saint of Gamblers. As he said, in fact, in addition to Long Wu, he has played many other roles. He is a famous golden supporting actor in the golden age of Hong Kong movies, and even once beat Leslie Cheung to be nominated for the Best Actor award at the Academy Awards. But what people really know and remember is Long Wu. When Su Ming saw this man, he understood two things at once. First, why did Jackie say he was busy with the new film, but in fact he was betting on horses here? Because the Long Wu who was with Jackie in front of him, being an actor was just an amateur pastime for him. His real identity was the former chairman of Hong Kong Yongsheng Film Company and the current chairman of Huaxiaxing Group. Huaxiaxing Group is a listed company in Hong Kong. Its business scope covers many fields such as property, hotels, health products, and entertainment industry. It is most famous for making movies. Therefore, Jackie was with him. It was probably related to the new film. Second, why did the retired gang leader Uncle Lee bring himself to this box? It has been rumored that Long Wu's other identity under the water is actually the leader of Xinji, which ranked first among the 4 major gangs before Hong Kong's return. He is a real underground big shot. If I guess correctly, the 2 guys in front of me are both formal members of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Maybe Long Wu is one of the core selected members. The Jockey Club encountered a man who came to make trouble, and Long Wu happened to be here, so he asked Uncle Lee to communicate with him. Jackie saw that the Mr. Su on the happy stand below was himself in the box, and asked him to come up to meet him. Let's introduce ourselves formally. Jackie welcomed Su Ming and Nangong into the box and introduced them formally. Finally, he smiled to Su Ming and said, just call me Brother 10 like me. There are 13 brothers in the Xiang family, and Long Wu is the 10th. Su Ming had already known about Long Wu's background on the internet. The Hong Kong Jockey Club was originally a place where celebrities frequented, so it was not surprising to see him here. After hearing that Su Ming had built a good industry from scratch at a young age and was also a party member, Long Wu's eyes lit up a little. He looked at Su Ming with a bit of appreciation and said half-jokingly, you are young and promising. No wonder the mainland government is so powerful and has built the 2 sides of the Taiwan Strait so well. Brother 10, if you want to join the party, I will be your introducer, Su Ming said seriously. Long Wu. Brother Shi, please sign for me, I'm your fan. No matter if they are party members or community leaders, they have no way to deal with this young, beautiful, and coquettish girl. Long Wu has probably written the word Long Wu more times than his own name in his life. He didn't expect to meet a passionate fan in the box of the Jockey Club. He shook his head and smiled helplessly, and then signed his name. Not long after arriving in the box, the 7th race had already begun in the stadium below. From the large French window of the box, you can clearly see the 12 horses on the track, and they will run wildly after leaving the gate. Although the settings in the box are more complete, there is even a betting machine, so you can bet directly without queuing at the window, but unfortunately you can't hear the shouts of the audience outside and the commentary of the host, and I always feel that there is a lack of the atmosphere of horse racing. However, if celebrities like Jackie and Longwu appear directly in the stadium, there is no need to watch the horses, and they will sign autographs for fans until their hands are tired. I just saw Mr. Su, the horse god, on the big screen. I didn't expect it to be you. You won't be unhappy if your money is cut off. Jackie handed over 2 glasses of red wine, one for Nangong and one for Su Ming, and said with a smile. Su Ming took the wine, nodded slightly to Jackie to express his gratitude, and then said, with a master like brother Shi in charge, I may not win next time I want to, so it's better to stop while I'm ahead. If it's dog racing, I can still be considered a half-master. As for horse betting, I'm still a novice. I just raised a horse for fun occasionally, Longwu said. Su Ming said Longwu was a master. Of course he didn't mean his horse betting skills after entering the box. Everyone present tacitly didn't mention Uncle Lee's hope that Su Ming would stop betting, and Su Ming also directly expressed his attitude with practical actions. Everyone present was knowledgeable, and some things didn't need to be explained. Hearing that Longwu also had a horse competing in the field, Su Ming asked curiously, which horse is brother Shi's? It's De Kuihuo. Longwu stretched out a finger and pointed at De Kuihuo, which was exerting force and rushing forward from the 4th place. With 3 points of doting and 7 points of helplessness, he said, every time I see it running, it makes me tremble with fear. De Kuihuo is a horse that is interesting. It looks like a middle-class horse, but it has strong explosive power. It can often exert force suddenly after halfway and surpass several horses in a row. But it seems that there is always a trench that cannot be crossed in one step from the 1st place. After the 7th race, De Kuihuo rushed from the 4th place to the 2nd place just like before, but the gap between him and the 1st place was still very large, almost a horse length. In the last 20 meters, De Kuihuo was always chasing desperately, but he never caught up. De Kuihuo has potential, but it is only one step away. It seems that it lacks the courage to challenge the 1st place. Look at it, even if the 1st place is not running fast, it always can't catch up, and seems to be satisfied with the top 3 results, Su Ming said calmly. He communicated with De Kuihuo several times and found that first of all, the physical fitness of this horse is not weaker than any other horse on the field. This is the foundation. If the race horse's physical strength is not good, it will definitely not run a good result. More importantly, De Kuihuo's fighting spirit is very strong, just like an entrepreneur full of hope for the future, full of positive energy of sunshine. The key is that it lacks the domineering spirit of I am the best in the world and the spirit of adventure. It is a steady type of player. The Lion Dragon is just the opposite. Although its physical fitness meets the standard, its personality is stubborn, like a rebellious adolescent boy. Lion Dragon is Mr. Luo's horse. Everyone knows that he has the same weird temper as Mr. Luo. Longwu nodded. After listening to Su Ming's analysis of the characteristics of the 2 horses, he turned his head and looked at him again, and said with a smile, it seems that Su Sheng is indeed an expert. He is the director of the mainland zoo, just like the trainer in the oceanarium. How could he not understand dolphins? Jackie said. I know a little bit, but I mainly rely on guessing. Su Ming smiled modestly. There is only one game left, why don't the 3 of us bet on it? Longwu suggested. Wow, I won't participate, Jackie smiled and shook his head, you 2 are masters, especially Su Ming, he is a real professional. Betting with him is like betting with Soros on stocks, giving him money to spend. Jackie, if you say that, brother, she will really think that I am here to cheat the jockey club. I am afraid that I will be hacked to death on the street, Su Ming said, pretending to be afraid. It's been more than 10 years since the return. No one dares to kill people on the streets of Hong Kong. Don't worry. Longwu didn't mind Su Ming's joke, which was meant to imply something. He just smiled it off, turned around and raised his chin towards Su Ming, saying, "I just asked Uncle Li to find you and cut off your financial resources. If I lose, I'll just compensate you a little." This brother Longwu has always been very gentle since they met, and he feels like an old friend who is trustworthy. Sometimes he even smiles shyly, the kind of cute uncle that makes girls want to hug him and love him well. He doesn't have the airs of a former leader of a Hong Kong society or a dominant figure in the entertainment industry. But when it comes to betting on horses with Su Ming, this kind of competitive activity where one side must win and the other side must lose, Longwu's tone still reveals a strong sense of challenge. Su Ming estimated that he was not necessarily targeting him, but it can be seen that under the gentle surface of this uncle, there is actually a heart that refuses to admit defeat and is competitive. "What are you betting on?" Su Ming shook Nangong's small bag full of money and said, "There are only a few 100,000 in cash. Brother, she will not want to take all the 40 million I won just now." It stands to reason that the Hong Kong Jockey Club and Longwu are not so shameless that they can't afford to lose. They just lost tens of millions and immediately set a trap for me to get back. But this is not my territory, so I'd better be careful and keep my eyes open. Su Ming is not worried about his 40 million being taken away by Longwu, but what if he wins later? He won 40 million from the Jockey Club and 40 million from Longwu. Will this uncle be so angry that he sends his men to kill him? Seeing Su Ming's expression, Longwu suddenly laughed. Dividing line. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 318. Young people are too worried. Do you think I will stand up for the Jockey Club and win back the 40 million? Longwu took his eyes off Su Ming's face, took out a cigar from his arms, lowered his head to cut the cigar, and said lightly, "If we can't even afford to lose this little money, the Jockey Club can't be as big as it is today. Not to mention that those real tycoons don't even look at the Jockey Club, even people like me have to look down on the Jockey Club. The Hong Kong Jockey Club has a history of more than 100 years. With the support of the SAR government and the entire Hong Kong upper class, 40 million is certainly nothing. The Longwu family has been the king of the Hong Kong underground society for decades, and has made a lot of money in the entertainment industry and the stock market. With rich experience in both the black and white worlds, they don't take 40 million too seriously. But Su Ming is different. A year ago, he couldn't even find a job. His biggest hope was to find a stable job. He would be thankful if he could get 4,000 or 5,000 yuan a month after deducting the 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund. Even now, his entire fortune is probably just this amount of money. Of course, that's without financing or venture capital. He's a person who started his business less than a year ago, so his perspective is different from those wealthy families who have accumulated decades or even hundreds of years of history. Although Longwu expressed his opinion, Su Ming rolled his eyes in his heart, thinking that if the Jockey Club is really rich as you said, would it dare to let me continue to gamble? There is just a bottom line there. Once someone breaks the bottom line, the Jockey Club will ask you to mediate. Since everyone is so happy, it seems that I can't not participate. Jackie shook the half bottle of red wine in his hand. I am not Su Ming's opponent in horse racing, and I am not as good as Brother Shi in terms of money. Why don't we use other bets, and it won't hurt the relationship whether we win or lose. I happen to have a bottle of 1978 red wine at home, which I will use for betting. Okay, I'll use that horse as the bet, and I'll give it to the winner if I lose, Longwu said. Su Ming searched his body for a long time but couldn't find anything valuable. He turned to look at Nangong. I'll bet with it. Jackie. Longwu. Nangong. A slap came directly. Su Ming dodged and said with a smile, it's just a joke to ease the atmosphere. I'm a pauper and can't compete with you. Let me bet with wine. This year, Dashan Wine will have 10 bottles of 100 fruits liquid brewed by monkeys. I'll take them out as a bet. That's great, Longwu clapped his hands, Jackie always brags about the monkey wine you gave him. Now there are 10 bottles in front of me. If you win, Jackie, shut up completely in the future. Brother Shi, you are too happy too early. Su Ming, you have to work hard. I would rather lose the red wine to you, Jackie shrugged. Nangong tugged at Su Ming, blinked, and asked in a low voice, can I join? The private room was less than 20 square meters, and several people were sitting together. Longwu could naturally hear Nangong talking, and smiled, pretty girl, men are only responsible for making money, and women are responsible for spending money. You don't need to ask him about spending money. Brother Shi, you said that, as if I'm doomed to lose, Nangong said unconvinced. Wow, I didn't say that. Longwu's tone was clearly like that, and Jackie was also shaking red wine on the side, smiling without saying a word. They could see at a glance that Nangong was an absolute layman in horse racing and would definitely lose if she participated in the gambling. It's okay, play if you want to play, and the loss is mine, and the win is yours. Su Ming patted the back of Nangong's hand, indicating that she could leave if she wanted to play. Humph. Nangong pushed the small bag full of cash onto the table, opened the zipper, and it was full of rolls of Hong Kong dollars, making her look like a female gangster who came to participate in arms trading. I don't have any horses or wine, only cash, is that okay? If not, I'll bet my boyfriend on you. Su Ming didn't know whether to laugh or cry, retribution in this life, but I'm not worth much. Longwu glanced at the money in his bag. Wow, the pretty girl is going to avenge her husband today. Okay, I'll also add cash, in addition to the Grand Mercure. If you win, I'll pay you this much money alone. The 4 people bet on the 8th game. Since it was an internal fight, there was no dealer, and all the fancy betting methods were abandoned. They only guessed the single winner, that is, which horse would come first. There was a betting machine in the room. Longwu and Jackie placed bets one after another. Longwu saw that there was no strong opponent in this game, so he chose his Grand Mercure without thinking, and Jackie chose a group of brown horses called Disney Lights. The stakes were not high, and it was mainly a joke, similar to a little game between a few friends. Su Ming had no need to cheat, and did not communicate in advance with the horses. He directly chose a more popular paramount according to the recommendation in the horse manual. What should I choose? Nangong asked Su Ming. Being so obedient before getting married, be careful not to be able to hold your head up at home in the future. Longwu laughed on the side. I don't want you to care. Nangong raised her little face and pulled Su Ming and said, I will listen to him, how about it? Seeing the loving look of the young couple, the 2 uncle-level experienced people couldn't help laughing. Su Ming shook Nangong's hand, choose whatever you like, just be happy, it doesn't matter. Well, then I'll choose, Pink Rose. Well, that's it, Nangong finally chose a white horse. It was obviously Snow White without a single stray hair, and I don't know why it was called this name. After making the choice, Nangong started to get confused. After all, it was more than 700,000 yuan, a lot of money. He looked at the pile of money on the table, looked at the people in the room worriedly, looked at Su Ming for help, and muttered, is this okay? I feel like I'm going to lose. Jackie and Longwu are both characters who have experienced big scenes for a long time. They have long been out of touch with ordinary people's lives. Although Su Ming is still not as good as them financially, he is basically an alien because of his animal friends. The perspective of capable people is even more transcendent. At this time, seeing Nangong acting like an ordinary citizen, worrying about a little money, it made him feel more real and a bit cute. Don't worry, pretty girl, if you lose, Brother Ten won't charge you any money, Longwu said with a smile. That's not okay. Even though I am a woman, I also know that a person must keep his word, Nangong said with a strong face, but holding Su Ming's little hand tightly still betrayed her inner nervousness. The 8th race, Also, the last race of tonight's horse racing finally started as scheduled. There were only 8 horses participating in this race. In the first third of the race, the 8 horses were almost leading the race. Occasionally, one horse would be a little ahead and would be immediately overtaken by the others. After half the race, 3 horses finally stood out and maintained their lead. Surprisingly, this time, the horses chosen by horse god Su Ming and veteran jockey club member Jackie were all lagging behind. However, Nangong, a pure layman, and Long Wu, a novice, chose 2 horses, Pink Rose and Happy Happy. Entered the top 3. Amid the cheers of the entire audience, the 2 hosts' surprised comments rang out on the radio. Wow, Wanyan's second child is so happy to show off his power, he's actually a whole body ahead of the second place. With less than 80 yards left, Pink Rose is still lagging behind. It seems that as long as it maintains the lead after the last corner, Happy Woods will 99% win the championship in an upset. Seeing the leading horses passing the last corner quickly, the rankings of the first 2 remained unchanged. Pink Rose obviously exerted strength. Although she caught up to about 1 horse's head again, De Quavo was still stable. Maintain the leading position. As for the 2 horses chosen by Jackie and Su Ming, they fell far behind the second group. Not to mention competing for first place, there is no hope of even being in the top 3. Unless the nitrogen injection mode is suddenly turned on, otherwise they are already destined to lose. Jackie clapped his hands and said, "Wow, horse god, you made a mistake this time. It seems we can't keep our wine." With victory in hand and no suspense in the rest of the game, Long Wu shrugged easily. "Come on. Come on. Pink Rose must win." Nangong stared out the window at the race course. It's a pity that although her Pink Rose is still trying desperately to catch up, De Quavo's own strength seems to be slightly ahead of Pink Rose. Not only does Pink Rose not catch up, but the gap has been narrowed to half a horse's length again. Pink Rose was not optimistic beforehand, and there is a reason for this. This horse has mediocre endurance, and its explosive power can only last a few seconds. If it cannot be surpassed within those few seconds, there will be no hope in the future. Now that we are getting closer to the finish line, the gap between the 2 sides is still increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Beautiful girl, don't worry. Brother Ten has never taken back what he said. I won't accept your bet. I'll give it to you to buy clothes in the future. Before Long Wu could finish his words, something unexpected happened in the race course below. Seeing that he was less than 20 meters away from the finish line, De Quavo, who had been leading, seemed to have lost his goal. He actually looked back and his pace slowed down significantly. Taking this opportunity, Pink Rose, who was following closely behind, suddenly overtook her. The whole place was in an uproar. Many punters in the stands below suddenly stood up from their seats and rushed to the fence near the race course. If it hadn't been for the jockey of Happy Horse to urge his mount desperately, this would have looked like a clumsy cheat. Happy Horse had obviously won, but he deliberately slowed down and waited for the Pink Rose. After Pink Rose overtook De Quavo seemed to have found his target again, speeding up to catch up and narrowing the gap in the blink of an eye. Unfortunately, both horses were only 10 meters away from the finish line, and it was too late to exert any more force at this time. Pink Rose crossed the finish line first, followed closely by another horse. Happy Happy, who was originally destined to win, fell to 3rd place. Seeing this result, the auditorium simply exploded. The spectators rushed into the race course and yelled, either excitedly or angrily waving their tickets. "Wow, it's unbelievable. Can anyone tell me that I'm dazzled?" the host said in a daze. Another host said with a cynical smile, "The jockey of Happy Joker is in big trouble this time. His sure win turned into 3rd place in an instant. I'm afraid everyone who bought JoJo's jockey will beat him up. If you buy Pink Roses, you must burn incense to wish him a long life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 319. The game suddenly reversed, and the happy horse suddenly slowed down as if it was possessed by a demon, and Pink Rose rushed past like lightning and unexpectedly won the championship. This really had nothing to do with Su Ming. The race horses were several hundred meters away from the box, and there was a thick layer of soundproof glass, so it was difficult to control them. Especially the horses running wildly, each of them was full of fighting spirit, and was in a state of soaring adrenaline hormones, which had a certain resistance to mental power. Besides, this was just a game. If you cheat even in this, it would lose the fun of horse racing. So from the beginning, he never thought of cheating with mental power, and he didn't even get close to the horse before betting. There was only one reason: Nangong was lucky. In other words, she followed Su Ming to bet all night, betting more than a dozen times, and didn't win once. Finally, the blind cat met the dead mouse, and she bet right once. According to probability theory, it is understandable. It's just that the way to win was too weird. As the saying goes, gambling character is a person's character. This is not entirely true, but a person's performance in gambling wins and losses can indeed reflect his personality traits and worth to a certain extent. Although he lost inexplicably, Longwu was only stunned for a moment, puzzled by the abnormal performance of the horse, and then quickly turned back to Nangong and Su Ming with a helpless smile, saying, "It seems that the horse is really not destined to be with me. Miss Nangong, you will be his owner in the future. I hope you can share some good luck with it." After that, he called in a bodyguard-like person, took out a card and handed it over. "Go and withdraw 700,000 cash to this lady. Otherwise, why would Su Ming be willing to take Nangong out with him? Not only is she beautiful, but in the scene, Nangong is definitely a woman who can eat well. Just now, she was worried about losing money like a little woman. After winning the money, she did not show off impatiently. Instead, she took the card directly, gently put it back on the table, and pushed it in front of Longwu with 2 fingers. "Uncle, I was just joking with you. If you don't take my money, how can I have the nerve to ask for your money?" Nangong said with a smile. "I'm very happy that you can give me the happy life." Longwu was obviously stunned. He probably didn't expect that this woman who looked like a vase could have such a generous side. 700,000 is not much, but it is definitely not a small amount. Even for some second and third-rate female stars in Hong Kong, it is a considerable amount. There are many people who are willing to eat and laugh with you, or even sleep with you to earn 700,000. In the past 2 years, the local entertainment industry in Hong Kong has been in recession. Even the top 3 Miss Hong Kong can't spend 700,000. What's more, this money was won by the other party in a fair and square manner, and it is completely justified to accept it. But I didn't expect Nangong to return it without even thinking about it. Longwu didn't even look at the cards on the table. He smiled at Jackie first, then gave Su Ming a thumbs up and praised, "Su Sheng, you have good taste and good fortune, and your girlfriend is a great person." "Excuse me," Su Ming said politely, but he was very pleased in his heart. He turned his hand behind his back and gave Nangong a thumbs up. "It's really a great honor for me and the people of the mainland. Brother Shi, you are not familiar with Su Ming yet. You will know that the girls he likes are of course first class," Jackie said humorously. "It's a good thing, but why do you say the word all? Have I liked many girls?" Nangong glanced at Su Ming with a smile, and then asked Longwu, "But Brother Shi, I have never raised horses, and I don't have a place to raise horses." "Wow, your boyfriend runs a zoo, and you are still worried about raising horses," Jackie said. Longwu nodded and said seriously, "This is a racehorse. If it is kept in a zoo and watched by people, it would be a pity. It will become useless. If you have no place to keep it, Susheng, you might as well wait until the owner changes and then keep it in the jockey club for a while. You can just pay some money. To keep a group of race horses in good condition, it is not enough to just feed them well. It requires scientific training, communication, and familiarity with the jockeys, reasonable nutrition matching and a series of professional feeding methods. Even small things such as regular bathing and replacement of horseshoes are important. It is a science. If you keep them in cages in the zoo like ordinary animals, for people to watch and take pictures, and for children to ride and play, it is like raising tigers like pigs. If they are not pigs, they will become pigs. The zoo has a back mountain, and there is no problem with the field, which can ensure the vitality of Dekuihuo. However, Su Ming did not have any specialized talents for this professional knowledge, so he said to Nangong in a negotiating tone, "I will take it back to the zoo first and let it get familiar with the environment in the back mountain. You, as the owner, can also get close to it. After it gets familiar with it, I will send it back to the jockey club. How about it?" "Okay, I'll listen to you," Nangong nodded vigorously. "Then from tomorrow, Miss Nangong, you will be the owner of the horse. The jockey club will hold more than a dozen international competitions every year. If you are interested, you can bring Dekuihuo to participate," Longwu said. "Can you win money?" Nangong asked with a smile. "Of course, the horse owner can get 70–80% of the prize money for horse racing. Maybe you will win more money than Mr. Su in the future. It seems that I have to buy a new horse. There will be a Grass King competition in December this year. If you participate at that time, you can also compete together once." After listening to Longwu and Jackie's introduction, it turns out that the Hong Kong Jockey Club holds many international competitions every year. The most famous one is the World Stage, Grassland King Series at the end of each year. This series has a total of 4 international Grade 1 races, which are held in the same time period, namely the Longines Hong Kong Cup, Longines Hong Kong Championship, Longines Hong Kong Bottle, and Longines Hong Kong Sprint Championship, attracting horse racing masters from all over the world. The total prize money for the 4 races is nearly 100 million. That's why Longwu said just now that Nangong might win more money than Su Ming won today. Of course, this is only in theory, unless Nangong's horse, Dekuihuo, swept all the awards. Speaking of the jockey club, Su Ming remembered a very important thing and asked, "Since you have a horse in the jockey club, is she now a member of the jockey club?" "I don't want to be a member. It sounds so corrupt. If I have to be a member, it should be you," Nangong said. Longwu and Jackie looked at each other and shook their heads regretfully. Longwu said seriously, "She is a horse owner, but not a member." Jackie laughed exaggeratedly, "Do you know how difficult it is to become a member of the jockey club? You are far from qualified." "Oh? How difficult is it?" Su Ming asked. "Becoming a member of the jockey club, in addition to being able to enjoy the services of the jockey club at any time, has no other privileges and visible benefits. It seems that you have to pay more than 200,000 yuan in membership fees a year. For people like Su Ming who spend most of their time in the mainland, it is definitely a loss. But the invisible benefits are immeasurable. Jockey club membership does not only mean property, but more of a recognition of social status and ability. Hong Kong people often say, there is a house in mid-levels, a yacht parked in Victoria Harbour, a Rolls-Royce in the garage, and you have to be a member of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. This is the symbol of true identity. In Hong Kong, Jockey Club member is synonymous with the most influential group of people. After listening to Longwu and Jackie's brief introduction, Su Ming realized that the annual membership fee of the Hong Kong Jockey Club is only more than 200,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is actually not expensive among the many high-end clubs in Hong Kong. But not everyone can join with money. The review process is very strict. First of all, it is recommended. At present, the Jockey Club has more than 200 core members, also called selected members. If you want to join the Jockey Club, you must be nominated by a selected member, seconded by another selected member, and supported by 3 other ordinary members before you can be accepted. Longwu is a selected member, and Jackie is an ordinary member. Each selected member has only 1 recommendation quota per year. Although Longwu's recommendation quota this year is still there, where can he find another selected member to second? Even if the recommendation is passed, the applicant's background information and financial situation need to be investigated, and any stain will be regarded as a disqualified factor. Even if both the recommendation and investigation procedures are successfully passed, it may not be possible to join the club immediately. The Hong Kong Jockey Club only opens 25 new membership quotas each month, so in most cases, members must wait in line. After joining the club, you have to abide by a lot of behavioral and character constraints, such as being polite to other members and even waiters, and not making loud noises. In several formal occasions, even the dress code must be strictly required, and you must not wear blue jeans, t-shirts, sports suits, vests, shorts, sports shoes and slippers. More importantly, in theory, the Jockey Club recruits members. Economic conditions, social status, etc. are not the first consideration, and the main recruitment is people who have made significant contributions to Hong Kong. Mainland tourists like Su Ming are neither Hong Kong citizens nor do they have the right to reside, so it is basically unlikely that they will become members of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Moreover, Su Ming has won tens of millions of dollars from the Jockey Club in less than a few days. If we talk about contributions, it is probably a negative value, which can be completely classified as a robber. With such a high level of pretense, who are you trying to fool? When Su Ming listened to them, although he kept nodding, he was somewhat disapproving in his heart. Character review: what a joke, even Longwu, a big boss of the society, can become a core member. How can I, a party member and a model worker of Yangchuan City, not be able to do it? Give them face. It seems that it will be necessary to come to Hong Kong to gamble on horses every now and then, and win more money. Let these evil capitalists who made their fortune by sucking the blood and sweat of the working people have a good taste of the iron fist of a good Socialist Party member. It is necessary. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 320. After the race, Jackie and Longwu had already negotiated the release of the new film. They took Nangong to the Jockey Club to handle the transfer of ownership of the horse. Su Ming also paid hundreds of thousands of miscellaneous fees. After the trip, the happy horse was specially shipped and returned to Yangchuan City with them. The jockey of Happy Horse is a British guy named Tony. He has a pair of blue eyes, a short natural curly blonde hair, and is thin and small. If he had no hair on his face, he could be thrown into the Monkey Mountain to pretend to be a big monkey. Tony is younger than Su Ming, only 22 this year, and speaks Mandarin very fluently. He even has a Tianjin accent. If you are willing, how about being a jockey for Happy Horse in the future? Su Ming estimated that with his body size, it would be impossible for him to ride Happy Horse to participate in the competition. Nangong can't do it either, not because she is a woman, but because she is the hot type with the tall and long legs. Unless she is willing to reduce her chest circumference to 34A, otherwise with her current height of nearly 1.7 meters and a weight of just over 100, it is still a bit heavy for a racehorse. What a joke, Nangong is willing, but Su Ming won't do it. Between Hai Mimi and Deku Aihuo, any man with a normal mind knows how to choose. Without Hai Mimi, how can Deku Aihuo be talked about? Only unhappiness is left. Su Sheng is still willing to believe me. Tony was a little surprised. In the eyes of everyone, the mistakes of Deku Aihuo today are inseparable from him as a jockey. The young new owner in front of him invited him to continue to be a jockey without hesitation, and Tony immediately felt like he had met a wise master. Su Ming really wanted to say a few words of encouragement, but it seemed too fake when he thought about it. If there was a problem with the horse, it was of course inseparable from the jockey. Besides, Long Wu was not very interested in horse racing, and the jockey Tony he found was originally a second-rate guy. It seemed that he was a part-timer and studied at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. It was the first time for Su Ming to meet Tony, and he didn't believe what he said about trust. Su Ming sighed and patted the big monkey on the shoulder. "Tony, this is not a question of trust. I have no other choice except you. How about you recommend someone to me?" Tony was stunned, looking at Su Ming, and sighed for a long time. "Well, anyway, honesty is also a virtue. Tony's level is mediocre, but De Kuei Wo still has great potential, at least he has a keen eye." After seeing Su Ming and Nangong coming, he swung his tail, leaving a string of footprints on the sand, and trotted to them. He didn't pay any attention to Tony at all, but lowered his head and rubbed Su Ming's face with his big head affectionately. In the previous few games, Su Ming had communicated with De Kuei Huo with his mental power. In De Kuei Huo's view at this time, Su Ming was a very close friend. Nangong was very excited and wanted to climb onto De Kuei Huo's back. This racehorse was tall, and Nangong failed to get on it after several attempts. "You will definitely not be able to enjoy it today. When we return to Yangchuan City, I will take you to the mountain reservoir to ride enough." Su Ming laughed. Tourists are not allowed to ride horses in the racecourse, and even horse owners cannot ride horses in the racecourse on race days. Nangong was relentless, and he put his hands around De Kuei Huo's neck and asked Su Ming to take 7 or 8 photos before he was willing to give up. De Kuei Huo probably wanted to show affection or something, and stretched out his purple tongue to lick Nangong's face. Su Ming severely criticized him, saying that "I haven't licked it yet, when will it be your turn?" "Wow, I said they are predestined," as if De Kuei Huo knew them in his previous life. Jackie laughed. Long Wu saw the scene from the side, and he was so depressed that he didn't want to talk. He spent money to raise this horse for more than a year, and he often came to visit, but De Kuei Huo never showed such an intimate behavior. "10th brother, the key is that you are too murderous," Su Ming said very confidently. "It's a family heirloom, I can't do anything about it." Long Wu rarely made a humorous move. "Everyone goes back to their own home, each finds their own mother." When leaving the racecourse, it was almost midnight. The streets of Happy Valley were still crowded with people and brightly lit. The nightlife of the city that never sleeps has just begun. When the night wind blew, Su Ming and Nangong recalled the scenes that happened in the racecourse just now, which was just like a dream. Wanted to see the stars, not only saw the stars, but also the big boss of most of the stars in Hong Kong. Wanted to bet on horses, but ended up winning a horse directly. And, there are more than 40 million. Nangong couldn't stand steadily, hanging on Su Ming, looking at the night sky, his eyes full of a kind of money-grubbing emotion, muttering, "After we go back, we will train De Kuei Huo well, and then we will win all their money." Little money grubbing, hold your bag tight. The more than 700,000 won before were all rolled up and filled Nangong's handbag. Nangong's small purse of 3,000 yuan was finally put to good use today. Nangong grabbed the bag strap and swung the bag like a big windmill, 700,000 wet and broken. When her boyfriend suddenly had an extra 40 million, Nangong was very arrogant now. If he had wings, he could fly to the sky. People who have money but don't spend it are bastards. Those who make money and pretend to be thrifty are all pretenders. It's not unfair to be struck by lightning. Call the tour guide directly and tell him that the hotel assigned by the travel agency will not be lived in from tomorrow. Are hotels that don't have sea view rooms meant for people to live in? I have to get up early in the morning and ride for an hour to get to Disneyland. Is that how people are treated? Please, We are here to travel, not to take the bus. Change, all zoo employees will start moving to the Disneyland Hotel tomorrow. What? The hotel has been booked for 5 days before, so even if I don't stay, the travel agency will not refund the money for the remaining days of accommodation. If it weren't for the phone, Su Ming could have slapped him with a big-eared melon seed. Who told you to quit? Did I say that? Traveling costs money, but you have been nagging me for this little money for a long time. I can pay hundreds of thousands per second. Do you care about your accommodation fee? I simply look down on mainland tycoons. Tour guide Zhang almost cried. Where can I find such a good tour group? If all tourists in the world are like this, how can there be compulsive shopping? How could there be such a shady tour guide? I called my mother, opened my mouth and said, "Mom, I won the lottery." Huh? On the other end of the phone, my mother was stunned for a moment, then said, "I hear you sound pretty cool. How many tens of thousands have you won?" Ha 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 ha, before that 10,000, add the word hundred. Su Ming laughed wildly. This is still for fear of scaring the elderly. In the eyes of the older generation, winning the 5 million grand prize means that they will be able to live and eat well in their lifetime. Mom was silent for a long time and then said something that Su Ming never expected. Now that you have won the lottery, don't work so hard to make money. Your health is important. What else can I say? Tears almost fell down my face. There are things I want to say, but I don't dare to say hello in advance for fear of being scolded for spending money frivolously. I called my uncle Sudasheng and asked him to find someone to go back to my hometown and tidy up my mother's house. The so-called tidying up meant building a serious villa. I called Zhao Yun again. What? Just say it again. Zhao Yun was woken up from his sleep by Su Ming, thinking that he heard wrongly. Su Ming repeated it again. How much money do you have to burn to buy a helicopter? I bought a plane so that I can go home to see my mother more often. Su Ming gave a reason that no one could refute. Okay, I admit you are right. Of course I know friends who are in the aviation industry. He was about to be defeated by Zhao Yun. There was no industry in the world where he could not find connections. Su Ming estimated that if the country had not sold atomic bombs, Jin Sanpang would have bought 2 from Zhao Yun. Small helicopters are not expensive. They range from hundreds of thousands to 1 million yuan, and the cheapest one is only 200,000 yuan. The problem is that the annual maintenance cost is hundreds of thousands, so buying one is a burden. What do you mean? I go home to see my mother. How can I be a burden? Okay, you must be ruthless. By the way, where did you get so much money? The people in Xiangjiang are so enthusiastic. When they heard that I was coming to travel, they lined up to give me money. Su Ming laughed. You must have won the lottery by buying horses, or the Mark 6 lottery. Zhao Yun's brain was really good, and he guessed almost everything at once. He didn't feel envious at all, so he yawned. Then I'll go back to sleep first. I'm going to ask you about the plane when I get up tomorrow. It's about buying a plane, not taking a flight, Su Ming warned. What are you doing to fight? You've changed your attitude. I want to die. A pillow flew over from the distant luxury room and hit Su Ming on the head accurately. Nangong, wearing a big bath towel, exposed his round shoulders, walked out of the bathroom and glared at Su Ming. Why don't you return your favor, room to sleep in? This is the situation. If I go back, I will become worse than a beast, Su Ming said confidently. Dividing line.